Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Friday Night Movies. I'm Matt and I'm here along with
John, the original failed backdoor pilot.
the original I so that is a beautiful name and I'm now thinking of like, well wait, what was the successful one? Cuz you said the original. I'm like, wait, so then is there a successful backdoor pilot? I don't know. Either way, I did not like this movie. What movie are we talking about? We're talking about Universal Soldier 3 Unfinished Business. And this here's the thing, John. Is it just me or did it take them a while to finish the business? And was it finished so quickly that it could have been a web series short?
Yeah, I mean, I the business certain business. You know what? I think I'm going to make another direct-to-video Universal Soldier movie called "Let Sleeping Dogs Lie," or "Leave Well Enough Alone," where you just the business stays unfinished. Like, you know,
Well, that's kind of what they did because they were trying to make these as clearly two backdoor pilots for a series, but they did it in a way that makes me kind of sit back and go, did you really think this was going to work?
I think maybe hope against hope they did. The funny thing is though, is that because of the title being what it is, and because of the fact that they kept using the phrase business, using the word business, but never unfinished business in my head. And I think I wrote it down in my notes every time it happened was, yeah, we've got some business, unfinished business.
Oh, I thought you were going to make another poop joke.
Oh no, there'll be all those, or there's a whole episode for that. I'm gonna pace myself.
Right, of course, of course. So, here's the thing. So, when it came to the second movie, we asked the question. We dared to ask. You and I, John, were really trendsetters. We dared to ask: is the third movie somehow going to be like either better than the second, or maybe make it feel like you know what? You should watch the second one to watch this one. The answer, surprisingly, maybe to some, was no. You do not have to watch either one of these two films. We'll, obviously critique it more in detail as this episode goes on, but I think just right off the bat, we have to mention that this movie, in the first like 10 to 15 minutes, I was like, oh, well, we're better than the second one, because in my opinion, it was. And then it kind of veered off course and it didn't just from that moment on, once the I guess you can call them they weren't necessarily eco terrorists because they weren't necessarily doing this for the environment. They kind of were just like fuck the rich, which is like okay, but like what else? And also another issue that I had, their whole motto, their whole thing is fuck the rich, and then they shoot a reporter. Bravo,
Yeah, yeah.
really smart there, really smart there.
Go ahead. What?
No, I just want to say that it was just like once that happened, I was like, oh, okay, never mind, this sucks. And then it did, and it continued to, because they were not important to the plot until they had to be later. Like everything was set up so that it was important later, which normally you would go, oh, but that's like good. That's like good storytelling. But they did it in a way that was like you would set up things so far from left field and then be like, see, and this is how it's tied together. And it was just like, but it was done in such a way that it still felt haphazard. Like it felt like foreshadowing in like saying, "Oh, there is a killer on the loose." And then you're like, "Oh wow, so we're going to know who that killer is?" Yes, but we won't have like clues or anything. It'll just end up tying into it later just because.
Yeah,
That's
like
kind of how it felt.
it's sort of on rails where it's just like things find that they find their mark, story things happen. The thing, I mean, compared to the second one, I will say that this the third one had more, I feel like, side characters with more personality, and I'm specifically thinking of the like terrorist leader who was getting all the bank account numbers from all the or the pin numbers from all the rich people, and the Vietnam vet with the one arm. But therein lies the problem, because it did have more like halfway compelling side characters, or at least ones that were entertaining to watch. But they shouldn't, it shouldn't be that the side characters upstage the main characters that much. And I feel like that because really, the Luke Devereaux is like a block of wood, like even for a robot. And then it's kind of same problem from the last one. And Veronica has a bit more personality, but like I said, a lot of times the I wanted to spend more time with the side characters, and was more invested in them than I was with really any of the main characters. And that's
So
not really a great thing to have happen.
yeah, here's the thing though. Battaglia, the Matt Battaglia, the actor who played Devereaux, I think that he was actually better in this one. I think that they gave him some more to work with, and they actually had him express a little bit more, or he expressed a little bit more. I think he was better in this one than the last one.
Well, he
However,
got to act more, that's for sure. I
yes,
mean, he was given a few more opportunities.
yes, and Chandra West, who is Veronica Roberts, she was obvious. I think she was even better in this one. I think that she, even though Luke wasn't giving her the chemistry as a character, she still was bringing so much to it. I think she worked. I think that I want to make sure I get his name right. I keep on forgetting his name. Burt Reynolds. I don't know why I keep on forgetting Burt Reynolds' name. I enjoy what I've seen of Burt Reynolds, but for some reason my brain goes, "Oh, you're thinking of Eric Roberts," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And my brain's like, "Yeah, you are. You're gonna say Eric Roberts. You're gonna fuck up on the internet. You want that? You want that shit?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
They're
Anyway,
gonna eat you. The Eric Roberts fandom is gonna eat you alive in the comments.
The Eric Roberts and the Burt Reynolds
But
fandom will come together.
the
Um,
biggest mystery in this movie, though, is two things. What happened that Burt Reynolds is a much better actor than Thesaurus Man, who just says big $50 words with this kind of enunciation, and also that Irish accent that kept coming and going.
Yo, I was so confused. I was like, is he doing an accent or is he
Burt
not?
Burt Reynolds, the fascinating inner world of this movie is that Burt Reynolds' character was actually wrestling with two sides of himself. The side that spoke in a phony Irish, sort of Irish accent, and the kind that talked almost like Avery Brooks. It's almost like an Avery Brooksian delivery. But it was just weird. It's like we should abscond to the agrarian, and it's like what?
I
Pick a
can't
bit and stick with it.
I can't deal with you right now with your modern day Avery Brooks references. Your Avery Brooks videos are gonna go viral on TikTok, John. Um,
And Avery
so
Brooks himself is going to call me out. John, I understand that you think my delivery is funny.
I just don't understand what Burt Reynolds was doing, but here's the thing. In a weird way, I liked it until I was like, wait, why are you just Gary Busey again?
Yeah.
His
Yeah. I
character
mean, effectively, he
essentially,
slid into that spot.
and but that's a problem because like you can't fucking just make Gary Busey again with Burt Reynolds. It's not gonna work because you can't out Busey the Busey, and two, you have this character who I was like, oh, how are we going if Busey reports into him? Is he going to be either worse than Busey's character, or is he going to have a certain finesse to him? He's not just going to shoot someone in cold blood out of nowhere, and then he does, and I'm like, oh wow, nothing has changed. That's the problem with these two films. Yes, there's more action in this one. There's less montages. I enjoyed the music in this one in a way more than I do in the second one. There was some weird comedy to the music that wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was funny to me. But I still think that at the same time, though, it kind of felt like you were just copying and pasting some things from the second movie, and the absolute one of the worst endings I may have ever seen. There were more. I have seen better and more fireworks in goddamn fucking Power Rangers than I did with the brother with Eric being like, "No, there's a bomb inside me."
Yeah, that was a very like a very modest sized explosion that almost looked like a firecracker going off, if I
This
remember
the
correctly. Like,
scientist was not kidding when he said they did not have the funds for shit. He wasn't joking.
I put a damp squib in him. It has a blast radius of 3 centimeters. You guys got to get out of there.
Like maybe the second, maybe when you hit the button, the bombs just go off. I don't know. And I know we're
Although
supposed to believe in. Yeah, I know suspension of disbelief. I get it. But oh my god, unless the two of them were literally hugging, the bomb would have done nothing.
and even then it would probably just like you get like a sunburn, it's and the truth is, by the way, speaking of the music, I will say, credit where credit is due. Not even that it was a terribly good song, but the song when Veronica and the terrorist leader from the beginning of the
Yo,
movie, that was a bop, that film when they were
yes,
fighting. And we're allowed to swear on this podcast,
I
right?
have sworn. John is not paying attention, everyone. It's too late for him. He needs to go to sleep. I have sworn multiple times in this episode already.
Have you? Jeez, maybe I'm just that desensitized. I mean, this is what happens when you watch action, dumb action movies. But I remember there was one song where, like, at the very end of the song, after like the terrorist leader is killed, it's like
Yes.
bitch, and I'm like, wow, that
Well,
was awesome.
no,
That was the
because
best part of the movie.
it was the exclamation point to her death that I assumed they were not going to show for some reason. And then when they did show the wound to her eye and then hit with that, I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. So apparently this was the best part of the film.
And also the weird part was, and I said it, the direction in this movie is bizarre. Like especially the fight scenes, like there's a whole lot of really up close, jerky. Didn't want to pay for stunt doubles, so we just kind of did tight shots. But it looked like Luke stabbed her in the eye, the
Mm-hmm.
terrorist leader in the eye,
Yeah.
and then Veronica was like, "That's for so and so." I think it was for the reporter friend of hers that got killed. Can you drop a? I mean, I don't know what the rules are for this. Can you drop a "That's for so and so" line if you didn't make the kill? Like as I'm looking at that, I'm like, something about this is weird, and I know there's no rule for post-mortem one-liners. Like there's no, post-mortem one-liner handbook. But can you do that?
I'm going to start if need be. Like if somebody hurts a friend of mine and then somebody else knocks them out, I'm just going to pop up behind that person and be like, yeah, that was for this other person you
I'm
hurt.
calling it now. That was in so and
Anyway,
so's name.
we're going to bounce now. I didn't even throw a punch. I mean, like she did. To be fair, she's better at fighting than I remembered. I don't know where she got her training from out of nowhere. Veronica?
Yeah, unless she's just been in enough. She's been into, if we're accepting that these movies follow directly off of the first one. She's had two movies of people trying to kill her that I guess you just sort of
No,
pick
but
it up as you go.
when she came out of the freezer, she did a kick that I was like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
I don't hate it. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, she's been boning up, and also, can we point out certain brilliant pieces of dialogue, like,
Oh no.
she's wanted in a. They said, oh, Veronica, when they were trying to frame her as like a murderer, it's like she's wanted in America, and then somebody asked, then why is she in Canada? Well, if you're wanted for murder in America, I mean, it would be kind of logical for someone to be. It's like, wait a minute, what is she doing here? She's wanted there.
To
It's like,
be
do you think maybe she's the reason she's in Canada is because she is wanted in the United States?
Let's remember that was a random grunt cop. That wasn't like a guy running the operation. That wasn't like a sleeper soldier in disguise. That was, which by the way, I love the concept of sleeper soldiers. I think we should have had them in these two episodes, to be quite frank with you. And
Mm-hmm.
we had one, of course, but I mean, like, they shouldn't be teasing them as if that's going to be a big thing eventually, because like no. It just feels presumptuous, honestly. With if the movies were good and then oh no, like stuff happened, so like we just couldn't do it. It sucks because then you go, oh man, what could have been? I remember there was a Disney show, it was an Avengers show, came out. I want to say 2011, 2012. It was on Disney XD. It was really good, but I think it was being created before Disney officially bought out Marvel, and so the show was on Disney XD, I think, but like just it was still before the official buyout. Once they bought it out, they actually canceled it to create their own new show, and the show was really good, and they were going to have some stuff involving Hydra in season 3 and maybe even do Civil War. So people were like, "Oh no." Similar thing happened with Spectacular Spider-Man. It was an animated show by Sony before Marvel officially got the rights fully, or some other contractual issue happened and they were able to do animated shows. They canceled this Sony show and then they created their own show on Disney XD. And that show was really good, was going to delve into some interesting stuff in season, I think, 3 or season 4. People were like, man, this really sucks. This is really good. And I've seen both shows and they were, John, really good. This just seems presumptuous with how bad they both were. That they were like, and we're gonna, if you want to tune in next time, gang. No, we don't.
Yeah, I
Actually,
mean they had the sequel hook at the end with like, oh, there's Unisol bases, all around the globe and stuff
well,
like
not
that. And
bases,
Bill
not
Clinton is a sleeper aide. That was
no, it's not.
honestly, I would have waited the whole movie for that reveal.
Yes, that should have been an after credit scene. No, it's not that they were bases. It's just that they had sleeper agents in them.
Or I thought they said they were like bases or facilities or
No,
something
no,
like
no,
that.
no, no. I don't.
But
I don't believe so. They just that the sleeper agents are there. Activate the sleeper agents. I don't believe that they are actual bases. Like it's not like It's the only sleeper agent is the president, or the only sleeper agent is someone in the Treasury Department. Like they have someone everywhere, but it's
at
not
various
that.
levels of government and things like
Yes,
that.
which is a
Also, I mean,
yeah.
bold choice because I know that a lot of times shows won't actually explicit. And in this case, they didn't explicitly refer to the president, but it was Bill Clinton's unmistakable voice.
Hilarious.
That a lot of times they won't like you won't hear the president or see him, just to make sure that it doesn't date the show by saying who was president at the time. There is one hilarious example of that, which was on Spiral. I think it was a show back in the 80s called Spiral Zone, and they didn't want to show. They didn't. It was an audio tape, and they didn't want you to date the show or the tape by having it be the president, who at that time was Ronald Reagan. So they just said he's lost his voice, and it's like, all right, guys, I see what you did there. But yeah, we actually got a very explicit Bill Clinton voice that was hilarious, and that really redeemed a lot of the movie. That's like, you know what? Unisol SC37. Also, the fact that his the initials before the number for this Unisol are Burt Reynolds' initials, that was a little okay.
My fellow Americans.
But now there's robot Bill Clinton. There's basically like enhanced zombie robot Bill Clinton and enhanced zombie robot Burt Reynolds running around at the same time.
This may surprise some of you, but I have died. Thankfully, dead. I am back. So, Universal Soldiers. I'm a big fan. Like, what is happening? What the fuck is happening here?
I'm down. Slick Willie is down with the Unisol.
So I'm confused. So now that he is a Universal Soldier, like, does he retain his memories? Can he still play the saxophone? I don't know.
He slowly remembers to play the saxophone.
Universal Soldier 4.
And he what happens is that he just gradually comes back to him. He sucks at first, but each time he gets a little bit better, and just eventually just regains all of his memories and plays a brilliant concert at Carnegie Hall, and then he forgets about the whole takeover of the government thing.
I just want to stop talking about Bill Clinton, but it also dates this, by the way we look at him now. Super fucking dates this movie. There are definitely some people that are like, I knew it. And it's just like, no, it's a movie, please, Grandpa. But the point is that, yeah, it was normally, I would argue, or at least nowadays, they just make fake presidents. Like, why not just have a fake president? It's so funny, they were like, this is going to be pretty big, gang. The president is actually Bill Clinton. No.
Yeah. Usually they'll invent, like President Whitmore, like they'll invent a fictional president just to sort of sidestep the whole thing.
It's funny. I thought that Burt Reynolds was like the president because for a second, until they showed like CIA director or whatever on his plaque, because last movie they actually like cut to the White House when they were showing Burt Reynolds. So I was like, wait, has he been talking to the president the whole time?
Was it the White House or the Capitol building?
Oh, that might have been. I thought it was the White House.
It was. I mean, they used a lot of like generic DC shots, but yeah, I think it was supposed to be Capitol building.
My bad. I thought it was the White House for some odd reason. That shows you how much I think my brain is trying to protect myself from these movies, so it's kind of shielding me from them. Also, there was like a fake baby prop. Like they made that was actually my favorite prop in the movie because it made me feel like I was watching like Japanese superhero stuff. Because it was just the weird fake baby prop in a tube.
A clone baby?
Yeah, which I loved, by the way, that they're just like, yeah, we have the power of like cloning and creating, just taking someone who has died. And you would think like, oh, like the thing about the original movie that made it work for me is they didn't like, look, I'm not saying I dislike lore. John, you're a fan of lore, I imagine. You want to learn more about a world, right? But sure. In the first movie, the way they made it, like they set it up is, hey, listen, we are doing this only for war. It's not just, oh, this is the message. It's also no, like when we bring them back, they are so ridden, like they have problems because they were in the heat of death. Like they just got shot. They don't know where they are. They don't know what's going on. They just, they also have overheating issues, all this stuff. So, we're going to erase their memory. And obviously I'm okay with, because I watch a lot of anime and other live action superhero stuff, I'm okay with the power of love winning. So I'm not like against Eric gaining his memory back. That's fine. Power of love wins all the time. I'm perfectly fine with that explanation. However, the idea that They tried doing it once in this movie to try to be like, oh, well, see, not everyone takes to things. Not everyone is going to be fine, right? I mean, we only have the technology. It only works sometimes, even technically the last movie, because Eric didn't undergo the surgeries. He was just frozen. Hey, look, not everyone is going to make it into the program. But at this point, though, after these two movies, and with the quote unquote lore that we got, it feels like you can just fucking make almost anyone into a universal soldier. And in that case, what's the fucking point? Why not just have, and I shouldn't be questioning this, I know, but why don't we just have fucking capitalists fly in, right? The corporations come in and be like, actually, fuck you, military. We're going to be using this to sell things to people because we want to make money. If
Well, and I mean,
anyone,
it also turned out that they were like they did have, and that was, I would say, that was another neat sort of, credit where credit is due. That was sort of a neat angle on it, where now they were finding other applications for the Unisol procedure, like they had non-combat units that were just sort of like deep cover agents and things like that, that weren't necessarily soldiers or anything like that. They were just in various places that would be convenient, to have them there. So that was sort of an interesting twist on it, and exploring other uses for them besides just as grunts, like having different purposes.
sorry, John, Deej wanted to make a cameo, clearly. They were messaging me on Facebook. So either way, the point is that, John, you were saying a point that I was clearly listening to, and I agree. Sleeper agents, awesome. Having them be combat units, not awesome. I'm not a fan of just, oh, anyone can be a universal soldier unless they can't. But we needed them to be for the plot, so then they were. And, having, I mean, you would think Burt Reynolds' character would know not to fucking do that. Like, look, I get it, you're low on people that you need, but, like, you brought in 4 criminals. What do you think is going to happen when you bring in people who aren't trained soldiers to the program? They're going to go a little rogue. And then, I don't have her name in front of me, but she was, like you said, she was the lead terrorist.
Yeah, and yeah, she was unstable. Like she was hard to control because she wasn't a conditioned soldier. She was a criminal. So that, again, also kind of neat. I did like the fact that they played around with that, and but along those lines, though, what sort of, I guess, philosophically confused me was that Burt Reynolds was giving his rationale for this program, and said that now, like, people, men and women, won't need to go off to die because we'll have these super soldiers. But the super soldiers are made from dead people, from dead
Well,
soldiers.
okay, so
So
two things. One, I assumed he was lying. He was talking to Luke. I assumed he was just bullshitting, right? He was talking to Luke.
yeah, and yeah, not granted, not everything that every villain says is something you can take at face value, but he seemed like he genuinely, like, that was his genuine
No,
rationale.
because his point is this, and I love how you had to bring up philosophically that you were confused. We're talking about Universal Soldier 3,
Philosophy of
unfinished
Unisol 3.
unfinished business. If I titled the video "The Philosophy of Universal Soldier 3," I would hate myself. We would actually have to do a real deep dive into it. It can't just be this podcast. But here's the thing, right? What he's trying to say is that they wouldn't actually be dead because they're not actually dead. So in other words, oh no, my son died overseas. No, he didn't, ma'am. Actually, here he is.
He's back. Don't worry, he's back as an invincible cyborg.
Yes.
So he'll be home for Thanksgiving.
Well, that's the funny thing. Do we have to probably put the memories back in him? That's why I assumed he was lying, because no, you're taking their memories, you dick. So yeah, no, he's Burt Reynolds is just like, I have to say that he will be back home for Thanksgiving, top of the morning to you.
He's
It's like,
going
wait
to
a
be
minute,
home for Thanksgiving.
wait a minute, hold on, Burt Reynolds. What's with that accent?
Your
Uh,
progeny will be in attendance at the November celebration
oh
of the
my god,
turkey coronation.
the turkey coronation. Um, yeah, so the clones thing, like I said earlier, Attack of the Clones. This one should be called. I at that point, like I said, like, what the fuck are we doing here? Once we introduce, because it might sound silly, but for me, reanimating the dead, especially if they've been frozen, especially if they take to the treatments, you've already set up enough rules that I'm like, fine. Oh, there's sleeper agents too. I like it as it's something that I did not expect, and it's also something that can be used because you can't just have the same old soldiers coming again and again and again and again. you're going to run out, especially if they have limited funds. When they had more funds, they installed these sleeper agents because they are, at least at one point, were a part of the government in some way. So I understand them, clearly in these two movies, while they're not with the government officially anymore, or even unofficially, they were in it enough that they are in a way like a secret wing of the government, even when being ousted. So they are technically have always been in control. Blah, 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 blah. I'm fine with sleeper agents. But when you have full ass fucking clones that have memories installed in them somehow, despite the fact that they're fucking clones starting from scratch, I'm fine with the love conquers all, but he was a clone from fucking scratch.
Yeah, and he had that. Well, that was kind of the odd part, is that this wasn't Eric. This was basically a duplicate of Eric created from his presumably his genetic material, but again, so I guess his memories were still there, because in this clone never really had Eric's memories, and I don't think they ever explicitly said that they gave him
No, why would
Eric's
they?
memories, because
He's
that would be a
alive.
liability. Yeah, that would be a
Yes.
liability. In
Thank
fact, they
you.
erased your memories. So
Yeah.
that didn't make a ton of sense. It kind of postulated the idea that your memories are like genetically hard coded, like just for the fact that he was cloned from Luke's brother, that means that deep down he would recognize Luke. And I don't, not to backseat zombie clone somebody, but I don't super know that it works that. I mean, that works that way. Like that, it's touching. It's like a touching scene, but that didn't make a ton of sense to me. That would be possible, especially the lengths they go to make sure that the person's memories are completely erased.
I will say though, I do like the scientist who I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm trying to find his name.
I can't remember anyone's name, to tell you the truth. Like it's just none of them. They didn't mention it a lot in dialogue. I don't feel like, and it didn't really stand out. But I will say it was a cool. I mean, I knew, because I think even the most basic summaries of the movie kind of spoil it. But the fact that the clone was Eric, and like we saw him as a baby in a test tube, then we saw him as a kid, and then a teenager, and then finally as Eric. That was a neat reveal. That was kind of
Well,
that was
no, no,
kind
no,
of
no,
cool.
no. Of course, that was going to be Eric. But what I'm getting at is that I like the doctor, Dr. Walker, who's played by Richard McMillan, or McMillian. No, wait, it's McMillan. I've seen him in other stuff. I don't know what, but I have. I think I've seen him in a lot more comedic roles. But my point is that what I enjoy about the character here is that they did something odd. Is that they kind of had him look to Eric as if like this is his son, his wife had died, so it's like maybe they always wanted a kid. I don't remember
Yeah.
them mentioning that in dialogue in either movie, but I just know that it is very interesting to have a doctor sort of have this weird attachment to a clone baby and be like, no, you're my son. And even though it didn't make sense for the doctor from what I've seen, I enjoyed in a very twisted way when Eric kills that other scientist by snapping his neck, which shouldn't have been funny. By the way, actually, that reminded me of that one wasn't funny to me. The
And he's like, "I'm proud of you, son."
That was funny, but also like I was like, oh wow, like I did not expect that, and I found it interesting, like an interesting wrinkle in a character that I didn't think I needed to care about. But what I actually found funny, and I know I really shouldn't, but I'm sorry, John. All right, the giggles took me when in the hostage situation. Finally, when we see Luke and he comes out and he's a quote unquote busboy with like I
Oh
love
my
by the
god.
way I love how they tried really hard to like
I'm the
make
bus
it so
boy.
that he doesn't know what he's doing because like the shirt was unbuttoned sexually. I
Yeah, he looked like a
recently
male he looked like a male stripper dressed as a busboy.
I literally unbuttoned my shirt in the exact way recently to look good for a wedding, and I admit I did. But the point is that I was laughing so fucking hard. Not at that, although that was funny. It's when shit hits the fan, when things get real, and out of nowhere, like maybe it's just me, but I could swear from both the first movie and the second one, he only killed Universal soldiers. He might have gone, oh fuck, the police are trying to detain me, I'm gonna push a police officer. But he doesn't actually, I don't remember him shooting police officers or anyone else unless they were a Universal soldier. And I say that. Maybe shooting like repressing fire, no, suppressing fire, maybe,
Right.
but not actually like shooting a cop in the head or something like that. Now, it's not that he took out cops completely in this movie, but what I mean is that yes, those were quote unquote bad guys. They were these terrorists. But he went from like, oh man, things are getting real serious, and then just snaps the guy's neck so quickly that I just started laughing because it went from, oh, like, oh, I guess we have to kill him. And he was like, actually, no. And then snaps his neck. And then the music hit at the exact time. And I just started laughing at the absurdity because,
Yeah, it's hard to tell where they were trying to be funny. Like sometimes they succeeded in being funny. I don't think probably for the reason that they were trying to, but it was because I think the I'm the busboy bit that was supposed to be
funny.
funny anyway, but also too what one thing that came to mind was the fact that when he found the busboy like trapped in a drawer or a freezer or something like that, the guy looked very calm. Like he didn't look usually when somebody's been trapped in some place, they like come out gasping and are like,
Well,
let me out,
no,
let me
they
out.
weren't trapped in the
He was
freezer.
just chilling. And
They
honestly,
weren't.
maybe he just is the first break he's gotten in weeks.
No, they weren't trapped. They hid from, like, they were in hiding, just like he claims I was in hiding, but really they were in hiding.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I couldn't tell. Well, then I said it was hard to tell from the guys, the actor that was the busboy. Like,
Right.
was he hiding or was he trapped there? I couldn't really tell.
Oh, another guy that I laughed at. I shouldn't have laughed at it because it was like Luke is hurting people, but I'm sorry. It's funny when you see what the character has done for the last two movies, where you're either a Universal Soldier or you work with them. So Luke's gonna hurt you, maybe even kill you. In this one, just a guy working at a fucking convenience store being like, "Oh, I caught Veronica." He throws him across the fucking counter and then looks at the guy, and I found it funny. He goes, "Help yourself."
Oh, yeah. And honestly, what he really should have said was help yourself to this very obvious huge pile of Nabisco snacks. I remember I was like, wow, this Nabisco must have shelled out pretty heavy for product placement because there was just a pile. There was like a pyramid of Nabisco products on the counter.
There were a bunch of Oreos there.
Yeah, it was Oreos, Chips Ahoy, like all the things there, and that was just front and center. But I mean, as far as like stuff that gave me the giggles, there was quite a lot of that. There was also the point where um, Eric drops to his knees, and I think it's probably right before he explodes, and says,
Yes,
"You maniacs!" And I'm like, is this Planet of the Apes? Like, are you Futurama doing a parody of Planet of the Apes?
that's what sucks. Jeff Wincott as Eric Devereaux, really good in the second movie. In this one, I feel like this was the first movie that he was in. I don't know, like I feel like not only was his character good, but he also gave a lot to it. After the character died, look, I'm not knocking him. I'm not saying he's not a professional. It just felt like this movie was the other one on the contract.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the emotional torque, except for that one last scene, a lot of that had kind of been. It felt like it had run its course in the previous movie.
Well, no, it felt like it was the end. There was no need to bring him back. And if you are, you can't also have. By the way, I love that Burt Reynolds' character is only listed here as Mentor. So you can't bring back Mentor. You can't have Mentor be a villain and the terrorists and Eric. You have to pick two or at least one of the three. Or at most, rather, one. So, which one? Two of them? One of them? You can't have all three be villains in an hour and 30-minute movie. It was just really bad. And speaking of the lead terrorist, by the way, the actress's name, I want to make sure I get this right, was Claudette Roche, or Roche. She played Grace. So that was just the only name the character was given, Grace. And she was absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. We have to give her flowers. I don't like the way the character was done, but that's not on her. That's a writing thing. But as an actress, I really think she pulled it off. And she was like, I loved her. She was very much like a Terminator, honest to God, when she was a Universal Soldier.
Yeah, because she had all the ruthlessness, but I was gonna say that like they almost did what they did with Deadpool and Wolverine Origins, where she was a very like she had a lot of for this movie a lot of personality in her dialogue, but so of course she gets killed off and turned into an emotionless cyborg.
That then gets a line at the end that makes me go, wait, did they keep your personality? What the fuck?
I don't remember if parts of it were surface because I know that either parts of it were surfacing or maybe she was in the process of remembering because I know that one guy had recall,
Right.
total recall,
Yeah, I
and
was
freaked
laughing.
out.
I was like, why did they say recall like Total Recall? I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. Unless that was another. I know they were big on the references to other movies in the other movie too, um, but also too, yeah. And it was cool that she was a little more unstable, a little harder to control because she did have that, which in turn made her more dangerous
Yes.
because it's like, okay, what if she was an immortal cyborg that also had like some of the viciousness that she had in life? Like, again, cool premise,
Then yeah,
but
that's kind of the issue with this movie. There were more cooler premises, I think, in this movie that were very underdelivered, undercooked. Because I think that if you're gonna bring back Eric, yes, they foreshadowed it through the movie. To be fair, they were building up to it, but then you can't include Grace or the mentor as a villain, like more as a benefactor rather than an actual guy who goes out and shoots people. I mean, the thing that he did with that cop, that was so fucking absurd. It was just like, yeah, what do you need? You're an informant and you've worked really hard for us, so we're gonna kill you so you can work on the other end of things.
I
Why?
need you to
No.
die.
Yeah, I was like, why would you do this? And another thing too, just talking to the writing in general, I mentioned it earlier, but I really want to hone in on it a bit harder because that's where I really think the movie started to go downhill. Having the terrorists be like, we want money and fuck the rich, and then shooting a random ass reporter to show that they quote unquote mean business. The reason
Unfinished business.
the reason why it pissed me off so much is because of the fact that it only felt like they were doing it because this was the one guy who believed Veronica and would help her. So we had to get rid of him. And also, he was kind of weirdly interested in her after they, broke up or whatever. So after she
Yeah.
broke up with him. So we have to get rid of, because otherwise, then she would get in the way of Luke and her romance that they then did not pursue throughout the rest of the film. Imagine that. Two movies setting that up, and then the third one, you just don't fucking touch it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were cuddling. I think they were cuddling on the truck at one point,
Of
but that could
course,
have
of
just been
course.
for warm. But also with the ex boyfriend was weird because unless I misunderstood, it seemed in the very beginning, it seemed like he was actually kind of eager to almost turn her in because I think he said like, "Oh, this is a juicy scoop" or something like that.
No,
Like,
no, no. That was the camera guy that worked with them later. The
oh, okay,
camera guy was like, "Come on, it's a juicy scoop," and he was like, "No." Or he was like, "Just because." He either said no or he said no. Just because it is doesn't mean because he was not ready to turn her in. Um, eh, the camera guy was, and then that's what he was replying to. It was hard to tell because you couldn't see their mouths for some reason. It was very hard to tell. But no, no, no. The camera guy was like, "Dude, let's get this. This is a story we can get." And the reporter was like, "No, no, no. We used to date for like 5 minutes, and I would maybe like 5 more minutes. I don't know. Like you
yeah.
could
It's
tell he
like,
was
listen,
into
man,
her,
I'm the douchey ex boyfriend.
but that's the thing.
Uh,
They weren't even together for that long. She apparently left him quickly or something without really calling her much, whatever. And then he was like, It's weird. The actor played him like weird, but the dialogue wasn't like completely terrible. It was just kind of, he was like stating facts, and then he's listening to her and he's like, you know what? Yeah, I agree with you. We should stop these Universal Soldier things. And then, of course, he has to die because of that. Because why are we going to move forward the plot in one direction? We have to go in a completely different direction.
yeah,
And I was like, oh no, really? This is what we're doing? Actually, even before that, I want to mention when you have Grace's character, just starting up, even though she hates the rich, of course, she wants their money. So then why the fuck would you kill them if you want their money? Like, she and other people opened up with completely shooting, like, just without care in the world, with reckless abandon. You're literally killing people that are going to be giving you millions of dollars. What the fuck are you doing? That's my problem, not just with her character in the beginning there, or the terrorists, but even just throughout the movie. This is going to sound so silly because we're talking about Universal Soldier, but it feels like when people shot, they shot for a reason. And in this film, it feels like they shot because why not? Does that
yeah.
make
It was. I mean, the action is very in both of the movies, but I feel like it was even worse in this one. The action scenes were strangely directed and like
well,
strangely edited.
yes, well, because the thing, there wasn't as much hand to hand. But what I mean to say when I'm referring to gun use, in the first one, yes, everybody was fucking shooting at each other, but there was a purpose for it. Oh, we need to kill this person because they're on the run. Oh, we need to kill this person because they are the Universal Soldier. Well, this is the bad Universal Soldier. We got to kill them for this. There was so many different reasons why the people were shooting and why they were shooting. In this one, you introduce four random criminals who were like, "We want your money," and also, and it's like, really? Okay,
I
so
mean,
you wanted their money?
I mean, I probably have the furthest thing from a criminal mind that you can get, but like,
What a
unless it was a
great thing
case
to
of,
say on camera.
it was a case of like kill a few of the rich people to frighten the others into complying, like
Well, no, but
sort
the
of.
first one was a genuine, like, the guy was being like a creep, or he looked like he was going to be a creep to her. And so she was like, actually, we'll just start this off with a bang. Boom. And then but it's not just them. It started me off like me going, really, with them. Then it just ended up happening later again with Burt Reynolds' character. Because again, it was like, look, I can accept it coming from Busey. But like, really, we're having Burt Reynolds' character also do stuff like this. Then having it later with some of the Universal Soldiers just shooting because, and even the sleeper agent, like, it
They
just
got a
felt
deal
like,
on bullets, I guess, or something like
yes,
that.
no, that's the thing. The second movie was like, hey, listen, all right, we gotta calm things down here so people don't understand what's going on here. By the end of the third movie, with the camera on him, like, we actually got it all on tape. Burt Reynolds should have been like, why should I care? With what we've been doing for the entire movie, we should not. I don't know what accent this is, but neither does Burt Reynolds'
It's
character.
neither yet. I don't think he
Um,
knew either.
yeah, no, but like, seriously, by the end of the film, and it's like, see, we got you on tape saying it. Burt Reynolds could have been like, guys, have you seen how reckless I've been for the entire movie? I'm pretty sure people already know something's up. I mean, the
Yeah.
entire movie, this one in particular, they were so fucking reckless. Also, funny thing, when they said, you mentioned them being in Canada before, I have to bring this up. They filmed this in Canada, I'm pretty sure, just like the last one. So it's really funny how in this one, at least for a little bit, they were like, oh, teehee, we're in Canada right now.
Where great movies are made.
Yeah, right?
Also,
Yeah.
there is one that completely apropos of nothing at all, but I just need to mention this because this I had to rewind rewind. Dating myself here, but the
Sir,
video several times just to make sure that I was not that my very juvenile mind wasn't seeing what I thought I was seeing
oh no.
in the shootout in the hospital. Was there just a shot of a urine sample hitting the floor? It was a slow motion shot of like a canister of it almost looked like a pill container, but I think it was for like urine samples, and it like hit the floor and dramatically opened.
Man, I didn't even notice, and John's here like, enhance.
Yeah, no, went back 3 times to make sure that I was like, okay, they wouldn't have had a. That's a John thing when John's watching a movie that John would be like, oh, is that a jar of piss? Like, but I rewound it and I watched it a bunch of times. Like, yes, that by all accounts is a urine sample hitting the floor dramatically.
John is sitting here like, you're in? And Luke is like, yes, you're in trouble. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, bam,
But it
bam.
wasn't. But it wasn't. And like if that had happened, that would have made more sense. But it wasn't. It just wasn't referred to, or like I mean, what are they going to say? Like, yeah. But like you said, there was no joke made about it. It was just a shot of urine hitting the floor, and then in the middle of a shootout, and that was it.
John's like, is that really urine? And Luke is like, mind your P's and Q's. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
Like
boom,
I mean,
boom,
and
boom.
again, I would have expected that, but it was just they didn't even do that, which made it very surreal.
Fuck you doing? Put the gun down. My favorite part of the entire movie. Fuck you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. It
No,
was
that
freaking
guy. And by the way, also, like with the second movie, they were at a veterans hospital, and they were trying to tie it into like veterans are not treated well, but they just didn't really focus on the hospital much. It was a 5 second thing.
Yeah. And having this guy be, and I liked, like I said, I liked that character,
A
whose name I
lot.
also, with the one arm, because like I said, he survived the war that Luke died in. Like
Yes,
but he wasn't, he was just a guy. He's just a guy. He's not
and
enhanced or anything like
and it
that.
was and it was so interesting because when he said, "Yeah, this reminds me of such and such," Luke is like, "Yeah, no,
Yep.
yeah, no, it does. You're right. A little bit like it, but not exactly." And I was like, or I think didn't he say like not as humid or some shit? And I was like, that right, you were there. But speaking of the war, by the way, it is confirmed. I'm sure it was confirmed in the second movie as well. But again, both of us shielded our minds from it. Eric actually also died in Nam. He just deployed earlier than Luke
Yeah, I guess you're right. Because I don't know. For some reason, I thought that Eric died in Korea.
because he looks around the same age Luke does now, and Luke doesn't look like he's an 18, 19, 20 year old, and he looks really young in the flashback. So I was under the
Yeah,
and
the numbers
also
didn't seem to line up. I mean, I know Vietnam went
yeah,
on for a long time, but
true. That is true to be fair.
but yeah, so he was a cool again. He was a cool character that they kind of just used as a quick one off. I mean, he got them out of a pinch, but when and he was badass for his short appearance. But like he was, they were there were very standout, characters that stood out as being a little bit more memorable, but also you don't want that to be that's kind of a mixed blessing because then it's like they shouldn't upstage the actual main cast. Like they kind of supplement it. In a lot of cases, it was like, tell me a bit more about that character. That character is more interesting than anything that's going on here.
Yes, I agree with that. And also, I want to mention, say that I don't know enough about the Vietnam War. That would be very true. I was born in 1992. John, you were born, 7, 8 years ahead of me?
84, yeah.
84. Yeah. So I bring this up because I did not realize how long the war lasted because it has been focused on so long for how we lost it, quote unquote, how we did not do well in the war, and the difference between the younger and older generations, and the idea that no, we won the war. No, we fucking didn't. It was a war that we shouldn't have been in. All this stuff, right? All this discussion around it on Wikipedia, one of the best sources, by the way. Always, if you're writing a paper or something, you have to go there. Well, we did withdraw from Vietnam in '73. The date here listed as Nam starting in November 1st of 1955. It
Oh,
did not hit me how long the war was. It doesn't. I'm not saying we went in immediately in 55, but it didn't hit me that it was a 19-year war. Like because it ended in 75 officially. So it did not hit me this was a 19-year war, and it really kind of recontextualizes when I think of the current wars that we have been in and we have pulled out of, and it took us too long to pull out of because to have Nam being listed as a 19-year war, it did not click to me until literally right this second. I'm sure I learned it in high school.
and
It was talked
Afghanistan
about.
officially lasted 20.
Yes,
So to put it into a more modern context,
that's
yeah,
kind of what I'm saying. Yeah, it's weird to think about that. Like, I granted, I'm sure, since we are very late to join into wars, I'm sure we did not start November 1st, 1955. Too much to jump into when we did start right now. This is not a Vietnam podcast, but again, it's still one of those things that I have to say that we when we're not involved in the conflict, i.e., you're born a little bit after, you don't like it doesn't click to you because I'm sure I learned it in high school as a blip, as a
yeah.
little
But at
tiny
that
blip.
time, you didn't really, you hadn't really lived through the full length of a war, so you didn't really, it's one of those things, seeing it on paper and actually living through that period of time with the war going on in the background of your life is a totally different, kind of a different experience. But I have to tell you the truth, like I said, in that case, it is feasible um, that
Oh,
Eric
I'm sorry.
and
Hold on. There's a car in the back. Is that the Universal Soldier?
yes, he's tearing it. Actually, no, it was an ambulance. The hijacked vehicle was an ambulance this time instead of
Right.
a an RV. But yeah, it's possible. Then they said that they were both in it, and just Eric probably went early on in the fighting,
Oh yeah.
and
No,
then
it's yeah. Of course. No. Yeah. And then he came in at the end, or closer to the end, and then that's when he died. Now it makes perfect sense. But you and I, even though you're older than I am, of course, but even then, it didn't click to you until I just said it, right?
yeah, and to tell you the truth, like I said, my brain is mush with historical facts. Sometimes I actually had forgotten that the Vietnam War started that early. That it had started in the
Yes.
50s.
Well,
Like
that's what I'm saying. I did not
you
know.
associate you associate Vietnam pretty squarely with the 60s, and
And
in
the
actuality,
70s where it ended, and then the hippies. Well, before they were awful, the hippies were like, "Yeah, man, love, not war." That's why we shouldn't have ever been in Nam, etc., etc. Like, I associate it more with the '60s and with the end of the war than I do when it technically started. So, Yeah, very, very interesting to think about.
You
So
heard it here. Matt hates hippies.
no, 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 no. It's let me explain. So the thing is, I don't hate hippies. It's not about hating hippies. It's about like where things went from the movement of peace and love, and how some people kind of still try to talk about, oh no, peace and love, but then you see who, like, they believe in peace and love for them and not other people. I feel like that's the difference between talking about, let's say, someone who is like progressive leaning or certain types of left leaning versus the word hippie and where that became, where it was like, actually, it's not just about saying fuck the system. It's about saying, let's not even, not so much participate, but kind of like, yo, fuck the system. And then it's like, well, maybe you need help, John. The system needs to help you. And they go, nah, you don't need the system, man. That's the kind of discussion and the kind of attitude I'm referring to.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, so it's that, and again, where it became and where it went. But at the time, though, I'm very pro hippie in the '60s and '70s. I'm very pro hippie. But either I like you were gonna say something though. You said it off camera because I mentioned this to you earlier on. You were like, that is a whole different podcast.
Yeah,
That's a whole different.
that's definitely a different, a whole different can of worms. It's-
But you said Matt hates hippies, so I'm like, I gotta fucking clarify my stance on some
no,
hippies now.
I'm just busting chops.
During Universal Soldiers 3 unfinished hippie business.
No, it's cool. I'm just busting your onions, but
Busting my onions.
yes, that's
I've
you can
never.
thank my late great father for that one.
That's a beautiful line. So did he make that up or did he crib that from
You know
something?
what? With so much else, like so much else with my family, like I'm never sure what was a universal thing at the time, or if that was just something my family, like I don't know if that was exclusive to my dad and his family, or if that was something that was commonly, commonly used. Was it just something my grandfather said? And so, and in many cases, that's just lost to history. We never
Universal
really know.
Universal Onions 3.
Yeah, Universal Family Inside Jokes 3, unfinished business.
I have to laugh at the fact that the Wikipedia page was created, I'm gonna straight up say, without watching the film. And the reason why is because the character, Burt Reynolds' character, has a real name, and his name, like the initials are GR, which is why Veronica in the movie says, "Wait, was the was that acronym, like, is that based on his name?" And on the Wikipedia page, he's just listed as mentor and does not have any reference to his name, even in the plot summary.
That's odd, especially unless maybe they were going off of the cast list for the second movie where his identity was still kind
I
of
think so. I'm saying I
shrouded.
think this page was made by someone who did not actually watch the film. And honest to God, kudos to them.
You're not
They
working hard, you're working smart. But
yes,
yeah, it was probably yeah, because his name was a big deal. His name was not really a plot point, but his name was of plot significance in the third
oddly,
movie.
yeah. So
Um,
so before we wrap this up, is there anything else you need to say? Speak now or forever hold your peace. About this film.
I feel like there's not much more. It's kind of just to go to the well of toilet humor one last time. Like it really just felt like a continuation of what was bad. It felt like we were finishing our business. This is kind of the rest of the dump,
Oh,
and
I thought you were gonna make a toilet joke of like, I remember that old joke of like, teacher, I know what a number one and a number two is, but what's a number three?
too late.
Do you
Yeah,
remember that joke
yeah,
from like, yeah, from elementary school?
of course.
So that's what this one feels like. Like, what's a number three?
It means it's never mind, too late. But yeah, it's just it's there were the fragments and the pieces of a potentially good movie were there, but it
Yeah,
was really like I said, I think it was I almost felt like they were trying to, because this was really a lot of this was to try to sell a TV series. I feel like they were kind of that their reach was kind of exceeding their grasp. Like it kept feeling they were going for something bigger than they ended up with, because they were hoping that they would be hooking you for a like I feel like they were really throwing out the plot details in the third one. They tried to there were a lot of things happening. They were trying to make it plot heavy, hopefully I guess anticipating setting up the universe of the TV series. But yeah, it seemed a little just over ambitious and just did not have the legs for what it was trying to do.
You also have to get rid of one of the two films. One of them has to go. You can't give me two movies on this stuff. One of them has to go. Either the CIA deputy director shows up in the second one and there is no third movie, or you end up having Busey be the not the big bad, but like a bigger bad, i.e. Burt Reynolds or whoever they wanted, because they had Burt Reynolds at the end of this movie. There's a chance that he would have been in the TV show. We have to think
Either
about that.
that or they would have
So
recast him.
that, oh my
for
god, if they would have recast like that would have been hilarious. But
we couldn't afford it. We could only afford him for the first two movies. I always
yeah,
that always reminds me of like when Leonard Nimoy was Galvatron in the Transformers movie, and then in the season of the TV show that it introduced, they had to recast him because they just couldn't afford Leonard Nimoy
I mean,
and Judd
yeah,
Nelson.
no, I mean that makes sense. It's Leonard Nimoy at the time, especially. Um, so yeah, I'm assuming that like like you said, they were trying to build up for the TV show, but like man, I think that the problem is that if you combined these two movies and cut some things, I think you would have had a good movie. Maybe not the acting, maybe not every line of the script, but I think we could have had something that was at least entertaining. And I think the second one had too many montages, but then Eric was an amazing character. And then you kill him off, and I'm like, okay, so emotionally, I'm done with this character. It sucks that you killed him off in this way so quickly, but whatever. We're done with Eric. And then you bring him back. And here's the thing, too, that I should mention before we really wrap this up. My biggest problem with Eric dying this time around is that I've seen this happen before, right? Brother versus brother. It's a tale as old as time. It's something you've seen in countless movies and TV shows. The agonizing part, the part that really pulls at your heartstrings, is the brother having to kill the other brother. And I've seen it before. It hurts. You want Luke to be like, no, Eric, please. And Eric doesn't. Maybe Eric at the end turns, right? I mean, we literally saw it with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, right? In the end, he's redeemed. He goes, Luke, we're pretty cool. And then he dies, right? But, oh my god, like, the fact that Eric had to die via bomb.
And not even a very big one at that. He had to die via like firecracker or via Roman candle
I'm I'm
explosion.
not kidding. I grew up on Power Rangers. I don't really go back to watch newer stuff or most stuff today, but like I'll catch some stuff every now and again. I do like Japanese superheroes though a lot. So when it comes to Power Rangers, Japanese superheroes, I've seen bigger explosions. They were building this up like it was gonna like
Get
explode.
out of there! What's the range on that bomb?
Apparently, it's a couple steps, really.
Yeah, if you
So
just kind of just take even if you just like lean back a little bit, you'll probably be okay. You'll probably just get the get the outer shock waves of it.
so that is my finished business about the movie. Do not watch this. Next time John and I are talking about Universal Soldier, at least we will be talking about the officially canon movie. At least for the time, I don't know if it's been retconned now, but at the time I think it was not retconned. We'll be talking about Universal Soldier 2: The Return, the actual theatrical film that has Jean-Claude Van Damme and I believe also Bill Goldberg from
Might
W.
might be, yeah, yeah,
I
and those totally erase the two that we just discussed. Like
thank
those are,
fucking God.
and we're so you're just going from from one to from the 1992 Van Damme movie to this one. So that's you can basically just pretend like the intervening movies didn't happen.
And we're gonna do that. But I just wanted to say, like, I wanted to do this, right? Some of you might be thinking, why? Really? Why would you two do this? Personally, I thought that there could be some redeeming qualities in this. It could be a so bad it's good, or it could be, oh, most of it had issues, but if they had just done this differently. But while there is a little bit of that in these two movies, I feel like generally, like, do not watch this with so bad it's good glasses. Do not watch this if you want to get more Universal Soldier. I can't recommend the other movies yet, as we have not watched and podcasted on those yet. But definitely, I think these two are more of a waste than not. Even if you're drinking and you're having a good time with your buddies and you get some popcorn, I still think that these two movies might not be the best.
And honestly, if you have seen them, complimentary clearance serum is available. If you would
Yes.
like to purge that information from your memory banks, and then and in fact, I got us each a nice little shot glass of it. We can have a nice little toast and just erase these from our memory and continue with the next proper Unisol with Van Damme.
All right, everybody. So, love you all. Take care. Tune in next time when we talk about something completely different. We have some merch, by the way, some new merch. We're going to post it in the description box down below, at least our merch page. Please check it out. It's really fun. Nothing based on Universal Soldier as of yet, or even just talking about it. But either way, though, John, let's take a shot. And
Bottoms up.
bottoms up. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode.